We got a swindler alert. Let's put up the picture full math. Now, when people manipulate and swindle our elders, it boils my blood. 60-year-old Joseph Makhani on the right, a real estate fraudster, is accused of conning his way into owning a Harlem brownstone, now worth $2 million, and is asking the court to recognize him as the legal owner of the allegedly pilfered property, while its elderly owner cannot be found. I'm going to give you the background. According to authorities and neighbors, in 2012, Makhani targeted the dilapidated 3-story house on West 118th Street, while his owner collected cans in the street. Makhani is accused of using forged deeds and other fraudulent paperwork to take the home, claiming to offer owner Veronica Palmer, let's put her up, a mere $10. $10. She didn't even get the damn $10. The home, which the developer renovated and converted into apartments, now generates about $12,000 a month in rent. Let's put her up. State Attorney General got involved. Letitia James, the AG of New York, hit Makhani with a 7-count indictment July 2021 over the accusations of mortgage fraud and ripping off homeowners, such as the 81-year-old Ms. Palmer. But he was never convicted. And now he is doubling down, claiming in a new court paper, new court documents, that one of his companies has had continuous control of 107 West 118th Street for more than a decade. The only person who can challenge Makhani's claim to the building is Ms. Palmer. That's according to the lawsuit. He used boilerplate legal language in the court papers, declaring Palmer is not an infant, mentally ill, or an alcohol abuser. He listed her home address as Magnolia House in Brownsville. It's a shelter that the city says is for single women who are duly diagnosed with mental illness and substance abuse. Sources said she is no longer there. Sources said she cannot be found. Palmer's younger brother believes the former city corrections officer has been mentally ill for decades. We're concerned about Ronnie and finding her, John Jackson told the Post, adding that his sister would never have agreed to sell a brownstone and once refused to give him control of the property so he could make repairs. She repeatedly rejected help from family and mental health professionals, even when she was living without heat, hot water, or electricity, said Jackson, 78, who last spoke to Ms. Palmer in a brief phone call a few years ago after finding her at a Brooklyn homeless shelter. Just last month, she sent a gift to their siblings, writing the address of her lost brownstone on the package, he said. Without a criminal case against him, there's nothing stopping Makhani from using the courts to solidify his hold on Palmer's home. Palmer fails to respond to the newest legal filing. A judge will likely award the developer something called a default judgment. The failed mortgage fraud case against Makhani isn't the first brush with the law. In 1998, Makhani and his brother were among 25 real estate brokers who pled guilty to a massive bid rigging scheme on foreclosed properties in Queens. Though the Attorney General's indictment of Makhani was tossed out on a technicality, in April, the state appellate court's first division gave a green light for the AG to resubmit the case to the grand jury, court records show. All right, I'm covering this story. We got to stay on top of it to see that it develops correctly. Number one, the AG's office in New York, you got to get on this. You got to get on it now. 2 filings. 1, file the criminal indictment again. 2, file an injunction with the court to stop him from obtaining ill-gotten gains. It's called a stay. This is easy for the AG's office to do to the family. I highly recommend that you try to work with the probate judge or probate court in your area to get an estate established. Until Ms. Palmer can be found, establish a family estate so the representation can be made on behalf of her if something, God forbid, has happened and you do not find her. I hate to say it that way, but damn it, you cannot allow this developer, this swindler, to win. Thirdly, has anyone considered that there could be foul play? And I'm going to leave it at that. All right. As I said, we will follow this story. Yasmin, thoughts?
Yeah, I know. Again, this is like what we were talking about earlier. I don't like to see people being taken advantage of. And this man has a history of doing exactly that all over New York City. Probably fancies himself like a real estate tycoon, a la Donald Trump, who knows? He calls himself a real estate developer, but he employs fraudulent methods for acquiring his properties. And the thing is, people will always be crooked. There will always be people who will try to get away with as much as they think they can get away with. You can't outlaw a person's human instincts or their personal inclinations, but you can outlaw the actions that they might attempt to take. There needs to be better legal protections in place that prevent people like this from getting away with behavior like this. These types of shady deals aren't necessarily new. The government knows that these things are happening, so they need to put a legal infrastructure in place to make it harder for them to get away with it in the future. But I know that's easier said than done. So.
Well said.